Hi, this is Kevin Conroy, and you're listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
You've just jumped inside the pull bag. Join TFG1 Mike and the rest of the comic crew here at the GCRN as they make their great escape into comics. From DC, Marvel, and Image to IDW, Boom Studios, and Zenescope, we have everything right here. We cover things like Transformers, He-Man, superheroes, TMNT, and Radiant Black. Yeah, we have all that and so much more. It's all inside the pull bag here on the Geekcast Radio Network. So, without further ado, it's time to talk about the comics we're reading right now, here inside the pull bag.
Hi, this is Lauren Lester, and you're listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
Hello and welcome to the pull bag, only on the Geekcast Radio Network. This is episode 428. I am, of course, your host, TF2 Mike. And today I welcome to the show Alison Richards. Hello, how are you?
I'm great. How are you tonight?
I feel like I'm on a seesaw and I'm on the wrong end of each side.
Ooh.
Yeah. Sometimes you go a little too high, sometimes you go a little too low and you end up in the sand. Whew.
Yeah, well, as long as you know you're not standing when someone gets on the other end.
That's true. I've had days like that. This has come close, but no, not that close. Not that bad.
I wonder how many listeners has just now winced.
Probably all of them. Wait, people listen to my podcasts? Really?
Well, I hope so. I mean, I wouldn't be on here if they didn't.
Oh, please. You know, we're just talking to ourselves.
Yeah, well, probably. A lot of people retweet, though.
There you go. That's good.
So there's at least people who acknowledge our existence.
Yeah, I hope that's not just me retweeting from the other accounts because I was like, ooh, I have separate podcasts for everything. I need a separate Twitter account for each one of them. So here's hoping.
Here's hoping.
Self-promotion, folks. It is a most powerful and most dangerous tool. Be careful you don't end up on the dark side of self-promotion.
Well, honestly, it's the only way you ever actually get your stuff noticed is by having to do all the marketing on your own. That's why I haven't sold a lot of my books, is because the only time I market them is when I'm at con.
Yes, and for those that don't know, Allison is a part of the BAM crew over on the Fortress of Baileytudes, the Superman and Lois tapes with Michael Bailey, also featuring Bethany Kessler as well.
Yay!
That's how Allison and I became friends and kind of got together with this whole podcast thing. If you go over to Tooncast, you can listen to episodes 1 through 6 so far of Marvel Studios' What If, as we discuss and fanboy and fangirl over each and every single episode. Listen here, folks. I'm not a zombie person, but even I enjoyed the Marvel Zombies episode of Marvel What If.
Oh yeah, that was fun, and I just the fact that they all kept like their level of intelligence and skill was just such a twist that made that episode as dangerous and scary as it was.
Don't eat me, don't eat me, don't eat me, don't eat me, don't eat me.
Relax. I'm just your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah? Well, then what the hell happened to the neighborhood?
Like too many great catastrophes, this one sprang from a place of love and hope.
Absolutely, because you don't want Marvel Zombies just be like, brains.
Which is somehow how they're portrayed.
Somehow. This is one of our Origins episodes. I ask guests that come on the show 25 questions of how they got into or out of comic book reading, because sometimes you just end up doing other things. So did you grow up reading comics, and at what age do you first remember reading or noticing them?
Oh, gosh. I knew comics existed for most of my life. I can't really remember back until,
Well, Clint, you really outdid yourself this time.
I believe 1993 is about where I can place remembering buying the comic and having it in my hand. I know I've had comics before that, but I can't tell you what I bought. The reason I can tell you 93 is because I remember holding the very first issue of Tim Drake's solo Robin run and having that one because I got the foil cover that Tim jumping through the circular window and yeah, so I remember that. And then I know I had them in high school because I remember also using in art class a lot of times tracing or freehanding a lot of artwork from the Robin comics.
So there wasn't a parent or a friend or a sibling or anything like that that said, here, take this comic and go read it kind of thing?
Nope. No, I have always been... Sorry for the cat in the background. I have always been finding my own reading for the most part. When I first discovered Robin and all, it was really through the Batman the Animated Series. And that's when I started being like, oh, I was really into this guy named Dick Grayson, played Robin. And then my mom would let me buy things that I probably shouldn't have read as early as I did. I mean, I was reading Ian Fleming when I was like 10. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. From Russia with Love. But I remember we got a copy of the novelization of Batman Nightfall. Or Knight's Quest. Whatever the actual full title is. It's downstairs in my library, so I can't tell you right now. But yeah, and so, I was already into... What the hell did you just do?
That's not helping.
So I read that book, and I got really interested in the storyline, and so I went to go find the comics that were coming out because... Well, Dick Grayson is now Nightwing and Tim Drake is Robin. And I really liked the way that both of them were written in the story. So I went and I started getting comics that they were in and, buying the older comics that I could find, wherever comic books were sold.
Usually out of Walden Books, folks.
Yep, that's what I had at that time. My mom took me to Walden Books every other week to buy stuff. So
absolutely.
But yeah, so that is the first comic I remember having my hands on.
So basically as a kid, but you got into comics a little later in life. So as a teenager,
I was going to say I was...
You were 14.
Yeah, 13, 14, somewhere in there.
Yeah. The question is, when you were a kid, which characters were your favorites? You just specifically talked about Nightwing or Dick Grayson and Tim Drake. So I'll rephrase it and say, what were some of your other characters that you liked at that time?
Okay, so there was this great 80s cartoon, I believe, called The X-Men. And... Oh, I love Nightcrawler. I really.
You mean 90s, 1992?
Oh, 92. So okay,
yeah.
So it was.
You're talking about the Fox Kids one.
Yeah.
Yep. I just wanted to make sure that you were yes.
In the right age, but yes, yep. No, I love Nightcrawler. I hated Scott Summers. I didn't. I had no care for Scott, Gene, or Logan.
Scott and Gene yelling each other's names.
Scott! Gene! Scott!
Gene!
Scott!
Gene!
Scott!
Gene!
Scott!
Gene?
It's like you're behind the old 8-ball, Gambit, and I am about to sink it.
You're not winning the game yet, Cher. Could be you need incentive. How about the winner get a kiss from the loser?
I was into Rogue, Gambit, and Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
I'm like, those were my guys. Those are the three I cared about. Gosh, what was it before that then? I don't think I even remember, like, I know why I probably don't remember a lot of that time. That was probably the time where I was still rich. Because I grew up in a New York, a Westchester County, old money family who lost their money.
Oh boy.
But no, I was more into just, I don't know, honestly. I remember Girl Scouts. I remember, doing all that and selling cookies and hanging out with my friends. Bowling. I was a bowler. But no, I don't actually remember a lot of what I watched outside of probably, Voltron and Speed Racer were the two cartoons I adamantly loved in the 80s. And a lot of the HBO cartoons, like
Fraggle Rock and other things.
Yeah, I was a big Muppet person.
Yep.
So it was a lot of Muppets. Many Muppets.
So many Muppets.
Also they had the stories for every child. They would play The Adventures of Tintin, the cartoon on HBO.
Yep.
And there's probably like other cartoons that are just like, because I keep thinking more the 90s because I can remember the 90s better than I can the 80s. I don't know why, but I can.
Time for that age-old question. DC or Marvel?
Honestly, it's DC. Because as much as I, have characters that I truly love in Marvel, the Robins have always been there for me, and a lot of my memories come back to something that has to do with either Tim Drake or Dick Grayson in my head. Like, I started writing fan fiction with Tim Drake. Back on pencil and paper, when there was not this thing called computers existing yet.
Yep.
Or at least not existing in an area where it was, able to be gotten by the common person.
True.
But yeah, no. So yeah, it's definitely DC. If you look at our bookshelves downstairs with our comics, it is definitely DC.
What other publishers do you enjoy reading?
Oh, I like obviously, there's still Marvel, DC. I do like some of the stuff that comes out of Boom. I have a couple things from Dark Horse because, that's where Firefly and all of the Whedon shows are in there. And lately I've just been doing a lot of stuff with Kickstarter. Looking at some original comic ideas that have been coming out of the Kickstarter area, and I've been getting some great stuff there. Like I got this one comic called Oz, which is basically it's the Wizard of Oz, but like in a war-torn Middle Eastern country.
Yeah, I guess we're not in Toto anymore, Kansas. Or I guess we're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. It's been one of those nights, folks. It really, really has. Oh, God. That would be interesting, though.
Yeah, it is. They actually just finished their Kickstarter for their second issue.
Awesome. Very cool. Very cool. All right, this question's going to sound a little wacky, especially coming from me on this night, but print or digital, which one, both, either or, and why?
Oh, God, that's hard, but it is always going to be print for me. Mainly because I'm dyslexic.
Mm-hmm.
And so reading on screens tires my eyes out really quick. No matter what settings I do for contrast to be able to make it easier for me to read, for some reason when I read on a screen, the letters jump around so much more on a screen than they do when I'm reading.
Yeah, my eyes, I have issues with my eyes as well. And the funny thing is I can only, they've spoiled me. I can only use Comixology's guided view because it zooms in and it does this otherworldly. It's basically storyboard viewing, but
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some of them are only available digitally, so I have to do that. But usually, because I don't do digital, I will just give away digital codes to people. If I see somebody talking to an author and they've missed like a couple of issues, I'll look and I'll be like, hey, I have those issues. I still have the digicode. Do you want the digicode? Cool. And I'll just give it to them.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Who are some of your favorite comics writers and why?
Well, first of all, I gotta love Chuck Dixon just because, that's where, Nightwing comes from. You've got your Titans. Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, you gotta respect the great ones who started, making comics in the first place and the purpose that was behind the comic books. Matt Fraction, my Hawkeye love really comes to those comics there. I like Jeff Johns, but more for what he's been doing with the television series work that he does, especially with Titan. I think it's Titans and with the other stuff. Yep. Just because of the fact that the one thing that always feels weird about superhero stuff is like if you don't involve people who actually know how comic book worlds work, the movie's not going to have as much of a success as it would if you had a producer in there who knows how these stories are built in the comic book world and how to translate them to a screen.
Right, yeah.
Some of my current favorites, Matthew Rosenberg. I discovered him with Hawkeye Freefall, and then I realized that I've read like a whole bunch of his stuff previously. So I love talking with him on Twitter. Kelly Thompson, who is doing the current Black Widow run, which everybody should read. Yes. Wow, I have this like whole stack of comics behind me and I could just start like pulling them out. But I remember more of the stories than I do who wrote them a lot of the time. Tom Taylor right now with his Nightwing run. Him and his group are amazing. So there's that. And then gosh. I mean, I've just really been enjoying a lot of the Bat titles that have been coming out, and the people who are working on who've been writing Red Hood recently. I like where they have been taking Jason Todd post Rebirth, because he's kept the background from Rebirth from New 52 in a lot of his backstory, but I think this like now is where he's actually really starting to grow. So I've been liking a lot of what's been going on, especially in the Urban Legends series. So there's that. The people who wrote the Poe Dameron comic series over for Star Wars after The Force Awakens, when they started that comic series, that was a really good one. And yeah, there is a lot of talent out there right now. And both DC and Marvel are doing a very proactive, work to try to get new artists and new diverse voices into their company to be showing new stories or retelling new stories with more with eyes of people who are actually more aligned to the characterization.
Yeah.
I mean, Milestone Comics has come back, and that I'm just so excited to see. It's a lot, but like right now, my top three are Matt, Kelly, and Taylor.
Very awesome, very awesome. I find it ironic, I guess, but I guess maybe not, that Matt wrote Clint and Kelly wrote Kate.
Yep. And if you and also Matt wrote the Tales of Suspense with Clint and Bucky trying to find Scarlet Witch, and so he, darn him, is responsible for my secret Winterhawk love, because they're good ideas to be together. So
very awesome, very awesome. What defines a good story to you?
It comes down to characters, because if you create great characters, you can do stories that don't have any dialogue or any plot or anything, and just still enjoy it. I mean, look at half of Fraction's run. I mean, half of them are, there's the issue with Lucky as the main character, and you know that you can't understand anything Clint is saying except for like words here or there, but you can see how they work with Lucky and create an entire story where you know what's going on. There's when Clint had his issue after he lost his hearing again in Fraction's run, and everything is either in sign language or empty bubbles. We know the character, and the characters whose makes the story move along. You can have great plots and great action, but if you don't care about those characters,
you're not going to care about the plots. You're not going to care about the plots or the action.
Yeah. So it's really comes down to character design and just making them able to be connected to, being emotionally open, even if it's in thought bubbles and not being open to other people, they're still emotionally open to the
reader.
The reader. Yeah. And that's what's great about Jason Todd right now, is Jason Todd's not usually emotionally open to anyone else, but he is to the reader.
Yeah. Maybe if he lived all those years ago, it would be completely different. What if?
Honestly, I think as much as I hate knowing why they killed him and how they killed him.
Yeah.
And what they did with him when they first brought him back.
Yeah.
I think that New 52 really, that if anybody's story was good within there, it was Jason's. He really figured out what to do with him and made him, the character everyone really loves now.
I would also argue Barbara and Dick as well.
Yes.
It's just Dick kept getting the dick around from that dildo. I'm sorry. I don't want anybody to lose their job or not have their job anymore, but I'm so glad that guy is no longer at that company. Anyway, so this question kind of is on the same lines as the one I just asked you, but what does a story have to draw you in? So you get the first issue of something. What does that have to have in it to keep you coming back for the second, third, fourth, fifth, seventh, ninth, 200th?
Yeah. Well, the way to get me to pick it up, honestly, is either to have one of my characters that I love in it. Because I'll always be willing to give a chance if I hear that, you know, somebody's going to be in it. If it's by an author that I trust. Or if my comic book store dude, either Travis or Larry, you know, recommend it to me because they know what I like to read. That said, Travis is kind of, you know, walking a thin line where he has to re-earn my trust because he made me read Shirtless Bear Hunter.
I don't even want to search for that on Comixology right now, folks.
No, I mean, it is one of those where you read it and you wonder if you're on an acid trip the entire time you're reading it. But say one thing about it, though, is that for the genre and the style and tone that they write it in, it's actually a good story. It has a lot of twists and turns. There's a lot of gratuitous nudity that is all pixelated out, and there are times where, you know, you're just like, oh my God, are we really going here? But at other times, there are just things that turn on a dime and you're like, whoa, where did that come from? So for as much as I want to bleach my eyes out sometimes for having looked at it, the story itself was good. I think I would have rather have just read it as like a novel and not had the actual visualizations.
Yeah, but the problem with that is, because I'm a very visual reader when it comes to actual books, like probably what I would envision would be 10 times worse than what it actually is.
Probably.
Was Shirtless Bear Hunter the actual title?
Sorry, Shirtless Bear Fighter.
Okay, I was going to say, because I'm not coming up with that. I decided to search for it.
It is Shirtless Bear Fighter. That is by Jody Lehup and Sebastian Gerner.
Cool. Awesome.
Oh gosh, there's a sequel to this. No, I'm getting off of Google.
Who are some of your favorite comic artists?
Otto Schmidt, right now, is hands down my favorite. Oh gosh, where's my current copy of hold on. I need to pull out I got my pulls from what do you call it? From
the comic book store?
Yes. George Jimenez is also one that I really love. And it seems the current artist for Black Widow, who is Raphael de la Torre. I like that art style. I don't know. I'm not really, as much as I love anime, I am not really that happy with like the anime style that they're seeming to move to, with the harsher lines. These black and white ones sometimes I don't like.
Right.
But yeah, it's like, again, I have a whole stack of comics behind me. Who's the one who works with Tom Taylor right now on Nightwing, because I actually like that drawing style that they've got going with him currently now too.
Latest release, issue 84, 2016.
No, that's not.
Robbie Rodriguez.
Robbie Rodriguez, and also Bruno Redondo.
Yep.
Yeah, because he does some of the variant art covers, and those are beautiful.
Yeah, very cool, very cool.
Yeah. But no, I kind of like... I like it when it either has like the... almost like the early 90s feel to it. Or I like it where it has the soft edges to the art. Like the Grayson series, which I know a lot of people who like Dick Grayson are probably groaning at me right now. But the art in that was beautiful.
No matter... Da Vinci could have done the art in that book, and I'm sorry, turning Dick Grayson into a spy because he can no longer become Nightwing. Let's not go into all that.
There is so much more to it than that explanation.
I know. I understand. I read like the first, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 issues of it, but again, that was at a time in Grayson's in Dick Grayson's character life that I did not agree with and did not care for, because again, I wanted Amusement Mile. Well, I love that he went to Chicago, and I love that Kyle Higgins was the one that took him to Chicago. Kyle had this whole other story where he was going to run Amusement Mile and basically put the circus in Gotham.
Yep, and then they blew it up.
Dan DiDio blew it up because they killed him.
Well, you know what? Dan DiDio just was trying to kill Nightwing every which way he could.
Absolutely.
You can't really blame the other people for this because they...
Oh, no. I don't blame the... Hell no, I don't blame the other people. No, I don't blame anybody but DiDio. Yeah. He's the only one I blame. No. What I'm saying is that there was a whole other... I didn't realize this until much later after the fact of, getting to Forever Evil 5 and 6 and then reading what Kyle initially planned. No, I don't blame anybody other than Dan DiDio for Nightwing's death from New 52. Don't blame anybody else but him. It's all his fault. Anyway.
Yeah, but the thing is that pretty much DiDio had a hand in every single thing that Nightwing would have done, from Amusement Mile blowing up all the way through mid Rick Grayson. Everything there, DiDio would have had a hand in, because nothing would have gotten past to be written story-wise if he hadn't approved it. So they were doing, all the other writers were doing everything they could to keep him still in stories while dealing with DiDio's somewhat really, I don't understand, hatred of Dick Grayson. But for the Grayson storyline, and I will defend this dang storyline, just as much as I will defend Rick Grayson for what they were trying to accomplish. And in this, everybody I ever hear of when they talk about Grayson is about how out of character Dick was. Mm-hmm. But nobody seems to remember that Dick is not supposed to be himself in this. He is playing a cover version of himself, which is why he acts a little bit more dumber and flamboyant, and he kind of acts up all those qualities that people think that he is with them, is because he's playing a part. He is being a spy. He is trying to make them underestimate him. And nobody seems to remember that, because his job is to be undercover. And that's why, you know, as much as I don't like the sexualization that they do of him and that's problematic. That's the one problematic thing that I find in that series that I hate. But at the same time, what they're trying to do with him in that, I really feel, you know, for what they were going to get out of the heads of DC at the time, it's a good story. But I will be happy to agree to disagree on that with people, because everybody's entitled to their own opinion.
And like I said, it's been a number of years since that happened now, and maybe eventually I'll go back to the Grayson run and read it drama-free of what was going on in the real world as far as whatever with the company. But I
will tell you the one issue that is worth reading. The one issue worth reading is issue 12 of Grayson. And that's the one where he gets to come home and tell his brothers that he's alive. And it is a beautiful issue that just speaks to his family relationships. It has nothing to do really with Spiral. There is a hidden agenda that comes up at the end of it. But you just see how he has those relationships at that moment with Jason, with Tim, with Damien, because at that point, Dick, and during Grayson, Dick doesn't know that Damien's alive.
Yeah.
It isn't until issue 12 of Grayson that he realizes it. And their reunion in that issue is beautiful. I actually have that issue, there's 4 panels where it talks about like their relationships as Dick is doing these puzzles. Also Babs is in it too. And so what I have is I actually have those 4 pages framed, because it is just such a testament to how much his family loved him and how much it hurt for them not to know that he was still alive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so if nothing else, that issue. You will love that one issue.
What is one comic you can read over and over again, single issue or trade?
Well, Grayson number 12.
Yeah.
That one I can read over again. I can read the Tales of Suspense, Hawkeye and Winter Soldier trade over and over and over again. In fact, I actually do. Oh gosh, what's the other one I like to read? See, I frame some of my ones that I love a lot. It's one of the it's the Secret Avengers annual number 3. And this is the one where Clint as Ronin tried to kill Norman Osborn. And he failed, and all the women in his life need to come and rescue him.
That must be difficult.
Oh, but the artist on it is like, this is like done where it feels like it's almost done like in not watercolor, but like colored pencils that are then, you know, brushed with water almost. It is beautiful artwork. There's this like one image that I really loved in it, and I you'll learn I also have like a little bit of a torture kink. But they basically Norman has stripped Clint buck naked and tied him to a chair, and they are trying to get him to give up the location of where all the other Secret Avengers are hiding. And he won't. And so they have Venom behind him, and he's got like this one claw hand on Clint's chest, and he's leaning over Clint's shoulder, and his tongue is down and licking the other side of Clint's cheek. And he's just looking Clint's just looking straight forward like, you really think that I'm going to blink? Mm-hmm. And I am just like, that right there. And then like the next thing Norman does is like he threatens Bobby Morse, who's come back to life at this point. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, she returned from the Kree. And then you just see this close up of his eyes and how they've just narrowed in pure hatred and anger. Mm-hmm. I have that page framed because that is just so beautiful.
Yeah, it sounds like it is.
Mm-hmm. And, gosh. Yeah, I mean, Fraction I'll always reread that whole run. Also, the 10 issues of West Coast Avengers, those two trades, I can always reread. It is the origin of Jeff the Land Shark. Baby Jeff. But yeah, no, those are the ones that I really will constantly go back to. There are, right now, I mean, I'm rereading the very tail end of the Rick Grayson arc for the Court of Owls stuff because of a fanfic I'm writing. Mm-hmm. And this is the point where they're actually trying to fix what was done to him and actually make it have a purpose at this point.
Yeah.
So, I do like rereading, that little bit of a journey where where Dick is starting to get his memories back. I don't like a lot of what happened in Joker War, but that issue where he gets his memories back, that issue of Nightwing.
Yeah, that was good.
Also, I can reread over and over again. Oh gosh, there's one other one. Oh man, which is the one? It's the one of where Nightwing and where Dick and Babs get the honeymoon room after Catwoman leaves Batman at the altar.
Oh, that's during the wedding.
Yeah, it's
I forget which one that is.
Batgirl 25.
That's right.
I have the whole series of images from the hotel room framed because it just it beautifully encapsulates Dick and Babs, because it talks about how, Babs may never be ready to be in a committed relationship, but she knows that Dick will always be there when she needs him. Mm-hmm. Tragically, this is like a month before he's shot. So it's just so heartbreaking to know that they have this moment where they have finally figured out what ground they're on with each other. Mm-hmm. And then he loses his memories.
Damn you, Didio.
Yes. There's that. And then, there's one more that just came to my head. Oh, crap. Batman issue, I think it's 15. It's either 12 or 15. It's the one with the, it's right after Tim Drake had died during Detective Comics. Mm-hmm. And Bane was just coming into the city. So, and the boys, it's Duke, Jason, Dick, and Damian have taken Bruce to Bat-Burgers. And the boys are acting like brothers. I mean, Jason and Damian are fighting over a toy from a Happy Meal.
Of course they would be.
It's a Red Hood toy, so of course they're fighting over it. But no, just this family moment I could read over and over again, because for all the fanfic people who have built this ideal Wayne family lifestyle, those are the moments where long-term fans that, like me, who are very invested in the Bat family, loves. For me, I love seeing those moments because those are character moments.
Absolutely.
This interview is going to take 2.5 hours because I ramble. Yay!
Give me a triple. Now.
Are there comics you avoid altogether? So again, you go into your local comic shop and you're just browsing through, or it's more likely this is for like new stuff. Like I don't have any interest in that or that kind of thing.
Well, I'm really not interested in the blood and gore stuff. I don't like ones that heavily rely on guns just because I think a lot of them become gratuitous. Some comics, they're just like, almost like gun porn in comic form.
Right,
There are certain characters I avoid. It's not like I avoid a lot because if it's written by a writer that I trust, I will grab it. But there's a lot of stuff like, all right, so I collect back titles, but I won't read the Batman Fortnite ones because I think it's ridiculous. And that's just to me. It's the same with, what's the other one that I don't want?
Batman TMNT.
I actually have the movie, but I've yet to watch it because I want to. It actually sounds interesting from how I've had it told to me, but seeing that they had a movie version of it, I just grabbed the movie version instead.
Read the trades first, I would.
Yeah. I don't read a lot of Green Lantern.
Yeah.
That may be changing now if Roy is going to be be a Lantern.
Mm-hmm.
But that's never really held a lot for me. And as much as I say I don't read a lot of blood and gore, if it has John Constantine in it, I will read it. I will read John Constantine stuff, but I don't actively search out for him. I'm not a big fan of the Joker. It's to me like, okay, I love animated series Joker. Love animated series Joker. I love Heath Ledger's Joker.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just, it feels like there's that story people are running out of like how they want to portray him, that every time they try to do something new, it comes off either being a lot darker than you're used to with the Joker. They tend to go more toward the Killing Joke Joker, like the whole the death of the family line where he was like tearing people's fit. Like that Joker I can't read at all. Except for that like one little arc because it has the boys in it. But no, it just feels really overdone. He's a very abusive character. I love Harley, but the Harley that was in there for a while before she started realizing that her voice and her power, he abused the shit out of her. And I just couldn't stand seeing that.
Yeah.
And I'm not that's why I didn't watch the first Suicide Squad movie, and I can't watch the Joaquin Phoenix movie because I am so done with it at this point. It's like I'm kind of glad that in Titans you don't actually see him hardly at all.
Yeah, I'm sure he's there somewhere in the background, but you don't actually.
No! Season 3 shows you where Joker is.
Oh boy, okay.
Yeah, season 3 of Titans, spoilers, has Joker in it for like all of 10 seconds. But no, it's just, I would rather get more focus on some of the other villains than and build up some of those other villains than they do right now with, always going back to him, Scarecrow, Two-Face, Penguin. It's like, and Mr. Freeze. Though Mr. Freeze has been going back and forth between a good guy and a bad guy. So,
yeah.
But, there are a lot of freaking good characters. I mean, freaking Calendar Man was this huge, dangerous character in Long Halloween. I mean, there are other really good characters that they could be utilizing that are minor characters that deserve a chance to be written up and made into a better villain.
The sad thing is, though, because all the major ones you mentioned, they're the ones that fit, like Joker and Harley and all that. And I mean, technically, Harley is and she isn't a villain. I think they've turned her into enough of a...
She's part of the Bat family now, but she's still working on her redemption.
Yeah. But yeah, the sad thing is that, Keaton and Nicholson fill seats, and you got to get those butts in those seats.
Yeah, and Cesar Romero, and all of that, but I mean, I just wish they could go back a bit to the campy in a way,
Yeah.
I mean, poor Heath, just the toll it took on him.
Yeah.
And I worry about about Jared Leto right now.
Jared Leto,
because I don't want Jared going down that same path.
No.
I don't really pay attention to him much as an actor, but I worry for him because of the role and what it can do to you if it's a very serious and angry role.
Yeah. I think the thing with him, though, is I don't think that they're going to, I could be wrong, but I don't. Yeah. Even though I know there's going to be a sequel to The Joker or whatever it's called, I don't think it's... I don't know. It depends on what his contract is and all that, but...
Well, I mean, they better freaking follow up on whatever they were planning to end with the Justice League movie I had to watch because of BAM, because I am like, first of all, fuck you, Joker. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. We're explicit. It's fine.
But or as spoilers in Titans season 3, as Jason Todd goes, fuck the Joker. It's I want to see that world. I want to see more of that world.
Yeah.
And if it's the same world as either, I don't know if it's going to be the same world as Death Metal, but if it's the same world either as that or as the last, what is it, the last night on Earth storyline, it'll be interesting. Just as long as it doesn't go into the Dark Knight Returns, because that one, the sequel to that one with Robin just kind of got really freaky.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised. So, since we were talking about Leto, and this is completely separate, folks, but I was looking on Wikipedia because Wikipedia sometimes has personal life things and whatever else and all that. And before he was the Joker, I knew him as the lead singer of 30 Seconds to Mars.
Yep.
And I'm like, have they ever put out an album past 2005? And they have. They've put out 3. It's been a good number of years between each of them, though. 2009 to 2013 and then 2013 to 2018. So, yeah. Let's see here.
What number are we even on at this point?
I don't even know anymore. How large or small is your physical comic book collection?
Oh, shoot. Okay, so we converted our master bedroom to a library.
Okay.
The DC collection currently, not counting the individual single titles that we've, like single issues, but just the trades, is one shelf along the entire long wall from end to end.
Wow.
Marvel has maybe a half shelf, and then we have a half shelf of indies.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, we had some trades, and then the pandemic happened, and we had to stay indoors a lot. And I was in grad school, so I didn't have a lot to do, and Bethany was working from home.
Right.
And we weren't spending a lot of money outside of the house. So we needed to keep our comic book store alive.
Right.
And we did our darn best to keep that comic store afloat because they're still open to this day.
There you go.
But yeah, I like to go. We have a really big used bookstore here called McKay's. That's like 10,000 feet of used books, movies, and such. 10,000 square feet, and it's 2 floors. So yeah, I mean, I would get stuff from there. We would get stuff from our comic book store. There's another used book place around, a couple of other used book places around that we would go. I also, I frequent the app Mercari, Mercari, when I'm trying to find hard to find stuff, because it's usually people selling from their personal collections.
Right.
And they usually don't know how much it's actually worth, so I can usually deal. Yep. I do it a lot for Funkos as well. And hilariously enough, I'm doing it now for Converse shoes because I want to have all the colors.
My God.
And I have no problem wearing used shoes because I usually tear out the insoles in Converses and put in better insoles because I have no arch. So yeah. But no, we has a lot. We has a lot. And then we have probably about three short boxes of single issues. Maybe more. It's hard to actually buy short boxes right now.
I would imagine so.
I mean, I just found a few today. Like my comic book guy, he doesn't have any. His distributor can't get any. But I went down to one of the used places, and they happen to have like 5, so I bought 2 of them.
Okay, so everybody is safe. You and Bethany are safe. All the pets are safe. The apartment's on fire. What is one comic book you could never live without ever and you would run back in to save?
Tales of Suspense, Hawkeye, and Winter Soldier.
You'd betray Nightwing and Red Robin? Really?
Because they are coming out with new new versions of trades of all of them, so I know I could get them. That fucker was hard to find.
Sorry to interrupt, boys, but I got a quick question before I take you all down. Where is the Black Widow?
Though I probably would also grab the Red Robin single issues that I have because those are worth something. But no, if I could only grab one, it would be that, because that is the one that I enjoy reading a lot. Again, Matt, you bastard, getting me addicted to Winterhawk. But no, because I mean, I can always refine Fraction.
Fraction's everywhere.
Especially with Hawkeye's, the series coming out, Fraction's everywhere. Batman stuff I can find real easy. I mean, they don't go out of print a lot of the time, the Batman stuff.
Not really. And like you said, they're always reprinting them because they want new people to find them. So
right, and they are big names. The Hawkeye stuff is harder to find because Hawkeye isn't a big name. He's people underestimate him, and most people I hear when I talk about the MCU, Hawkeye's like their least favorite, or they hate him, especially after Endgame. They hate him, and I'm like,
wait a minute, why do they hate him after Endgame?
Because
she died and he didn't. Oh my God.
Oh, I know, and I've had to set them straight about why they chose her and what it means thematically and story and character, but they're just like, no, but we still hate him. And I'm like,
that makes no damn sense. You look at his arc in the MCU, he has a wife and a child. She has
his wife and child.
Okay, and that's
I would not be surprised. But
that's a whole other what if universe.
Yes. I am down for that what if universe.
Oh my God, that's a what if universe. What if Hawkeye died? What would really happen to his wife and child? Oh,
honestly,
wait.
I wouldn't be surprised if season 2, if they decide to play with that, because they already know what they were going to do because they filmed both endings.
That's right. Yeah. That's the thing about multiple endings, folks. You never know which one's actually going to happen.
But no, they talk about how it should have been him because she was the better character and this and that. And I just go to him. I'm like, do you not understand the entire arc that Clint and Natasha went through all of these movies? Mm-hmm. They're like, no. I'm like, okay. So, very beginning, we know that the reason Natasha is there and not dead in the very beginning of the MCU is because Clint made a choice. Mm-hmm. Clint chose her over following orders. Mm-hmm. That is what makes them best friends. Yep. You see how much they care for each other, how much they love each other, how close they are. They are basically brother and sister.
Yeah.
Just like Budapest all over again.
You and I remember Budapest very differently.
And so, which is why that fight at the end is so emotionally charged, because they're trying to save each other. Mm-hmm. They're not fighting. They're trying to save each other.
Yeah.
And when Natasha makes her choice, what she's not only doing is she is giving Clint back that gift that he gave her.
Yep.
Which is that whole line of the I don't judge people at their worst moments because you didn't. Mm-hmm. And she always, and then you remember in Avengers that she talks about how she has red in her ledger. Mm-hmm. Clint is the red in the ledger she would never be able to wipe out.
Yep.
Except by doing this.
Yep. Absolutely.
And that act wipes out the last of her red in her ledger. Mm-hmm. So, and now I have goosebumps just thinking about that. But no, that is why I love it. I'm glad the costume designer who spoke up and said, don't you dare take this from Natasha to the producers, mm-hmm. And I'm really glad they made that choice. Yeah, it kind of sucks that Natasha's not there, but that doesn't mean that we can't have an Elseworlds world or a what if world, because apparently she's coming in as a badass motorcycle shield wielding girl somewhere in the mid-season trailer.
Yeah.
So, it's not like her story can be done. There is this wonderful thing called, cloning, and especially in Marvel, they have the human synthesoid things that you can't tell that you're a clone or a robot,
Ben Reilly, Peter Parker, Ben Reilly, or have you met?
Mm-hmm. Oh no, Hawkeye Freefall. They actually go and activate Hawkeye's life model decoy.
Oh,
That's
wow.
what it is. They go and Clint goes and finds his life model decoy and activates it. It is the most funniest shit, but that is because Matt Rose. Matt is just a genius, and I love him. Yeah. So,
what is the most money you spent on a comic or a comic item?
Ooh. Well, I mean, I spent some pretty pennies for some of these pops.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I manage on Macari. I managed to finally get the WandaVision twins.
Oh, cool.
And I also found the quote unquote Pietro Maximoff Funko one from WandaVision as well. Mm-hmm. And those are like the two hardest freaking Funkos to find. But no, I think and some of these statues behind me are like $100, $200 statues. But when it comes to straight out like comic, it would be the 4 issues of the Justice League Avengers crossover, because those were $20 each.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Was there ever a moment when you were done with comics?
Yes, there was, because there is a time period, a good gap of period where I didn't buy any comics. So, Pietro Maximoff is also one of my favorite characters. Mm-hmm. And so I really loved him. It was X-Men Evolution that really got me into him, and then I just read backwards for all his stuff.
Right.
And so House of M. I loved the House of M story. I loved the twist that it was spoilers. The twist that it was Pietro's words to Wanda that created House of M, and not Wanda's idea. But Son of M turned my boy into a tin hat wearing asshole who forced his own daughter to become an Inhuman. And it was so out of character for him. But they are still repairing his character to this day.
Yep.
Like, it's only a few years ago that they actually had Luna come back to talk to her father for the first time and, forgive him for what he did. Right. Because, he finally took responsibility for what he did. He's been trying to say that it was like, at one point it was the Terrigen poisoning. At one point it was like a Kree. No, it was a Skrull, because that's always the thing. It's always a Skrull. But, he finally took ownership of what he did. And his daughter forgave him because he did it live on public television during a press conference.
Oh, boy.
And yeah, I have never been that angry at a comic book story until then. Because I was personally insulted for what they did to my favorite character.
Yeah, I can imagine so. I mean, that's a little
It was
harsh.
character assassination.
Yeah, pretty much. What are you reading right now, and what do you think our listeners should check out?
Okay, so the ones that are sitting right now on my desk is Future State Gotham, which is an ongoing series that still continues in that Future State world that they did last year. Mm-hmm. But it is Future State is actually the Bat family. So this is where Jason Todd is a peacekeeper, and Batman, they thought he was dead, but he's come back and now he's being arrested. And basically Nightwing is the leader of the Bat family. And Tim died and came back with Lazarus juice. So yeah.
Oh no.
So yeah, so this one I'm really into. Because I like where it's going, and I know that part of what the current storyline with Scarecrow in the main continuity is to avoid this world from happening. But at the same time, some of the stuff that's coming up in this world is very fascinating. Batman Urban Legends, because they just did this great arc with finished out a great arc with Batman and Red Hood, where they finally started to understand each other as what Red Hood does. There was also a great bringing Grifter back into the comics, and that was, again, Matt. So, hate him, love him. Gosh, I'm just going to have to link him to this podcast and be like, yeah, this is where all my love and hate ranting about you is at. But like the issue I just grabbed from this week has Terry McGinnis in it. Mm-hmm. And so I haven't seen a Batman Beyond in a while. Mm-hmm. So I kind of like seeing that in here. And then it's an Elseworlds almost in a way. Yeah. It's like an Elseworlds book. Obviously Nightwing. Mm-hmm. Also the Teen Titans Academy I've been reading. Where it's the old one taking in all these new heroes that they have been, these new kids that they've been finding and giving them a place to train like they had created for themselves. Mm-hmm. And Donna's in charge.
Very cool, very cool.
So there's that. And the Flash, because Wally is the current Flash. And they're fixing Wally's past finally and bringing him back to being who he was supposed to be. Because I'm pretty sure Dido had a hit out for Wally too.
Oh, I'm sure, because, mm-hmm. Barry is king of everything because Barry's on TV. And don't get me wrong, I like Barry on TV, but I've never cared for Barry in the comics.
Yeah. So there's that. Black Widow by Kelly Thompson. I'm reading that one. That one, the first 6 issues actually had Clint and Winter Soldier in it, which pulled me in. And then I just fell in love with Kelly's style, and so I'm following Kelly now. Infinite Frontier is the storyline in which Roy Harper has been brought back to life, mm-hmm. and he is an intricate part of what's going on in that world, which is going to be connecting into the current continuum now, because Roy Harper is about to enter into the Teen Titan Academy. Mm-hmm. Robin's new solo series with Damian's actually been pretty good. He's starting to grow up. Red Hood currently right now is not in anything on his own. He's going to be the leader, though, of Task Force Z.
X. Oh,
or
Z.
It's one of those.
Okay.
He's going to be the leader of a whole bunch of reanimated zombie villains. It's going to be weird.
Brains.
Bane is one of them.
Oh God, a Bane zombie. Oh God.
That Jason, who loved Alfred more than anything is going to be around.
Oh boy.
Yeah, like I say, there's a lot of stuff that's going to be coming out of that one. I also read the Adventure, Batman: The Adventure Continues Season 2 comics because it's in the Batman
it's
animated
DCAU.
series world.
Yep.
And I mean, we collect almost all the Bat titles, but I'm looking forward to the Kate Bishop series that's starting in November. And, well, Clint isn't in anything right now, so I'm not getting a lot of Marvel. The only Marvel I'm getting is Black Widow.
Yeah.
You know, and then I have Kate on my pull list.
Yep. Yeah, I think Clint may not be in anything currently is because obviously he's got the TV show coming up.
Yeah, but he hasn't been in anything for like a year or two. I mean, I can't remember the last comic Freefall. Freefall's the last comic I saw.
Freefall was, yeah.
And they had this ending in Freefall that spoke to having more shit written. And the only reason that I think that it ended there, and it didn't go into a full series, is because of COVID. Because they only got the first 3 issues printed and distributed before Diamond closed down.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I eventually got the 4, 5, and 6, but I bought those digitally because it was the only way I was going to get them.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's pretty much what I do. There's nothing interesting because I'm not sure I like the whole redoing of the X-Men yet. It hasn't really kind of caught my eye, and the lettering and the languages that they're doing, while it's kind of cool, for my brain it doesn't work. So I kind of not been reading any X titles right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Heroes, heroines, anti-heroes and heroines, or villains. What archetypes are your go-to reads for characters?
Anti-heroes. And mainly that's also what I write, too. For my fiction, my main character, 9 out of 10, is going to be a morally ambiguous male character. But which you can, if you look at Clint and you look at Jason Todd, hi, I have a type. Also Quicksilver.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, Dick Grayson, and Tim Drake are flukes. They're the only nice boys I really like. They really are the only nice boys I like.
That's funny.
Though Dick Grayson has his moments. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, he has his, almost become. I mean, he has become Batman, but almost he almost trudges to the edges of becoming Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, he does, and that's a flaw he needs to stop.
He wouldn't be able to put, again, going to Kyle's run in New 52. Those last issues. Fuck. Issue 29. How issue 28 and 29, that whole 2-part story with Jenny being kidnapped, the little girl Jenny being kidnapped in Chicago, and he has to go save her. And
yeah.
In issue 29, Kyle has him do this whole internal monologue thing about recapping his entire, is it 29 or 28? I forget. It's one of them. Basically, where it ends with the credits, and it ends with him swinging, opening his sweatshirt and revealing that obviously he's Nightwing, and the title of the book is Safety Net. I'm like, oh, you bastards.
Yep.
I love you, but Jesus.
Yep, and then there's the Future State cap-off issue, too, for that, which is in Grayson, actually. No, sorry, never mind. That one's in Grayson. But yeah.
Do you have a My Parents Got Rid of My Comics story?
No.
Okay.
No.
I only ask that. I ask that in the comics. I ask that in the toys. I'll ask a version of it when we do the cartoon version of this. Because my dad at 6 years old said, "You're too old to play with toys," and sold them all.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, wasn't like they were worth anything.
Back when my mom was realizing my hobbies and how much I was, spending to buy things.
Right.
That she remembered my brother having, and that she had ended up throwing out when he got older. She's like, "I should have saved the shit." And I'm like, "Yeah, you should have. I want it."
What is one item from a comic book you'd love to have upscaled and for the real world? So the basest example I can give you is a Batarang or Green Lantern's ring or something like that.
So it can't be a person. All right.
No. Comic item.
Item. Oh, that's hard. And as I turn to look back at my Batman shrine, my Robin's shrine behind me. It's kind of hard because there's a part of me that wants to say Jason's all soul swords, but you have to earn those. And it kind of you have to rip into your body to pull them out. So I'm not sure about that. Clint's bow and arrow, but I don't have the I won't have the ability to use it. It's just because he has a 250-pound draw power. But it's this beautiful hand-carved thing that he gave Kate back in the Secret Avengers just after Captain America died comics. And then she gives back to him halfway through the Fraction run. But no, I think I have to go with Mockingbird's baton. Because that thing. Okay, so this little baton that she there are two batons. They're like a Scream-a-Sticks, pretty much. But she can connect them together, and will shoot out from either end to make a bow staff. But it can shoot out almost 10 feet on either end. So she has used it as a javelin. She has used it as, like a pole for pole jumping, and it retracts and comes in, and, you can get it back into the Scream-a-Stick, and it's metal, so it sings and it doesn't break easily. And yeah, no, I think I would want Mockingbird from Mockingbird.
It basically does everything.
Pretty much.
Very cool.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you could uncap it and it would pour wine out of one side. Can
it make ice cream out of the other?
I don't know. Maybe. Spin it around enough.
Now, I know you have written fan fiction in the past, and you do still currently. But if you were given the keys to the kingdom at DC or any company, what type of comic storyline would you want to create, and what characters would you want to create it with?
Oh my god. While it's kind of hard to do, it's, for me, what I would really love is if I was in Marvel, I would love to create a storyline with Bucky, Nat, Clint, and Bobby, basically being like a strike team Delta, and the four of them, going on spy adventures. I would really love that.
Very
in
cool,
DC, in DC, honestly, what I would love to do is I would just love to have Dick, Wally, Roy, and Donna just spending time, with each other. Not like the young Teen Titans, but as they are as adults.
Right, yeah.
Because there used to be a thing where Nightwing and where Dick and Wally would go on a road trip every year. Like, this is part of their canon back in the 80s. Because I actually have the issue, which was like Flash Plus, or was Nightwing plus Flash or something, where it talks about how they go on a road trip every year together because they're best friends. And I would love to see something of that. And obviously they'd have to have a car seat for Leon because Leon needs to be, with Roy. And just, them, going on a quote unquote family vacation and then, shit goes down. I would really just love that.
That does sound like a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
What is the one piece of advice you would give the comics fandom in general?
To be open-minded to some stories that you don't like. Mainly because some things are started for long-term results where you may not like how it begins, but if you hold on through it, or even if you just come back, once you see where it's going, and then go and get the trades to reread to see the path, because this advice honestly is coming from the Rick Grayson storyline more than anything, because people stopped reading Nightwing because of Rick Grayson, because they felt he was out of character. Well, he's technically a 12-year-old in an adult body who doesn't remember the last 15 years. So, right. Of course, he's out of character.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure that they didn't figure out what they were going to do with him until they started plotting Joker War. I'm pretty sure they didn't figure out how they were going to bring him back. But if you look at the long game with Rick Grayson, and you look at what the writers who, Rick Grayson was the writers saving Dick Grayson again.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because otherwise he'd be dead right now if they hadn't made Rick Grayson. So, you got to give a little bit to Rick Grayson for that alone.
I never, I knew of, because I do and I don't care about spoilers, so it doesn't really matter to me, because
Well, Stephanie Brown cares about you, okay?
Sure she does. I don't mean the spoiler. I mean spoilers.
I know.
So she would have to be cloned multiple times. Anyway.
I'm sure she'd enjoy that, actually, because then no, never mind.
And that's a whole other line of thinking.
Yes.
I never really, okay, I've read headlines about the Rick Grayson arc. I never really, I have no ill will. I thought it was a little weird, but I have no real ill will towards that because I never really paid that. The last thing I know, and I know that they've gone on past this, obviously, as we've already said in this episode, the Dio killed Grayson. And then he put him in Spiral or whatever. That's where my hatred of it comes in. And I know some people may dislike the Rick Grayson thing. I don't even think I have a single DC book in my most recent reads right now. I need to get caught up. I need to wait for the omnibuses on Comixology or whatever. So, even though I keep up and I read the headlines and read the story, read the articles about, there could be spoilers from, I don't care, the whole Batman Beyond issue thing with Urban Legends #7, or when, yay, this is so awesome, the guy who plays Batwing got to write an issue with Batwing with I think it was Urban Legends number 5. Cameras Johnson. I'm probably mispronouncing his name, but
yeah.
But basically, Cam Johnson got to be a comic writer because he was writing the character he plays on TV, which is really friggin' cool. So yeah.
But no. So coming back to that, it's people. Well, first of all, he's out of character to these people, and fine. That's the point of it right now. But a lot of the Rick Grayson stuff is a character story. Like, there is some action, going on because it ties into certain things. But until Court of Owls, there's not a lot of action. It's a lot more of it being Rick's journey to rediscover himself. And it is a delightful character study, because you are going into a character who is currently in the mentality of a 12-year-old who's being made into an adult.
Yeah. It's kind of like... Go ahead.
Well, there's still more. Who has had these expectations thrown at him in a traumatic way, which is why he leaves Gotham, and then as he's trying to figure out who he is. And for the readers, if you really read it, it is a way to see what Dick Grayson would have been like if Bruce hadn't taken him as his ward.
Yeah.
You see how he's suddenly back in that circus style mindset where he is, he doesn't want to put down roots. He's basically bouncing off of couches or sleeping in people's houses that he knows that they're away because they mention they're away on social media. It is a great study at seeing, that, and then you see the pieces of Dick Grayson we know bleeding through in this person. And you realize what those core aspects of who Dick is through it, because he doesn't want to take back on the Nightwing costume, but he still wants to help his city.
Yeah.
He still loves with his heart on his sleeve. I think the girlfriend he gets, B, was perfect for him. But of course, because it isn't Corey and it isn't Babs, nobody's going to like her. But for what he needed in a relationship and someone to ground him, she was perfect.
Right, yeah.
And then bringing it all back with the Court of Owls bullshit. And, looking back all the way into New 52 and what we know about what they've been wanting him to be. And that they made that it went this far into having the court being the ones responsible for his amnesia and everything that's been going with him since.
Yeah.
It is a fascinating story when you go back and look at it.
Yeah, it is.
And people in the moment couldn't see that because they're going from issue to issue and they're not liking it because it's not the Dick Grayson that they know.
Again,
and so that's why I would say people need to be open and willing to explore different stories like this because it's a long game. And it is amazing when you look back at how they went through the entire piece when you hit that ending.
Yeah. It's like I always say, folks, as awesome as it is, and we always want to support the comic shops, wait for the trade, especially in a story like what Rick Grayson went through, because that way you get the whole story all at once.
Yeah, if you can't do the old-fashioned watching a television episode from week to week and you need to, binge watch it, trade paperbacks are your binge readings of comics.
Yep, absolutely. All right, I think we're going to take a quick ad break. We're going to come back and close the show out after this.
Oh wow, that was 25 questions already. Wow,
that's always the last question. Is what is the one piece of advice you would give the comics fandom? Is always the last question.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
Because the world needs another movie podcast.
The Geekcast Radio Network presents for your listening pleasure, The Cinema Geek.
Hosted by Amanda, Kevin, Matt, and Dan.
Each week we dive headfirst in the landscape of movies as we discuss movie news, play movie games,
go in-depth on reviews,
and even have a top 10 countdown or two.
Also, don't miss our director retrospective series, where we review noted directors' movies film by film. Bottom line is, if you love movies and love podcasts, you need to experience The Cinema Geeks.
You can find us on iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, or GeekCastRadio.com.
On the Simplistic Reviews podcast, we talk movies. We talk TV. We talk...
Hello, Julie, what the heck are you doing?
Trying to make our spots sound more exciting by adding explosions.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could have got the point across with sound effects, not the real thing.
Download the show on iTunes or at simplisticreviews.blogspot.com.
I'm sure your insurance company will cover that.
No, they won't.
No, they probably won't.
Hey gamers, TV's Mr. Neil here. The Gaming Hipster is my personal podcast in which I take you on a journey through my history of gaming, both new and old. Each month is a new topic show in which I bring you my console memories, give reviews of my favorite video games, and talk with cool guests.
People have made cartridges that will let you play Netflix on Nintendo.
I was making sure that I got everything. I was writing it all down.
They fixed that for the third fake prototype.
And that's the first time I remember seeing real animated boobs.
Find the podcast at geekcastradio.com or on Spotify. You can also hear a deluxe version of The Gaming Hipster at ravinghipster.com or patreon.com/Mr. Neil. For $2 a month, you can hear longer versions of the podcast with after-show segments and stuff too raw for the internet. You also get various topic shows, my commentary podcast, The Big Bad Movie Show, commercial-free Geekcast stuff, and more. All at patreon.com/Mr. Neil and ravinghipster.com.
Hi, my name is Dr. Andrea Letamendi, clinical psychologist.
And I'm Brian Ward, nerd. And we want to invite you to listen to our new podcast, The Arkham Sessions.
It's a podcast dedicated to the fun
and geeky
analysis of Batman the Animated Series, episode by episode.
We pay tribute to the writers and the stories of the animated series,
while also exploring the very real psychology behind Gotham's rogues.
And maybe even its heroes. All of this and more
each week
on the Arkham Sessions
at underthemaskonline.com.
Discover a world of vintage and modern toys that's more than meets the eye with the Triple Takeover Toycast.
Hosted by toy writers and photographers Toy Box Soapbox, 6O and TF Square 1, this informal and chilled out series of discussions cover everything from vintage Transformers to Mask, Diaclone, Microman and more, be it nostalgic or current.
Whether you're a seasoned collector or a casual robot enthusiast, all are welcome.
Triple Takeover Toycast.
All right, folks. Anything you want to promote, Allison, before we get the heck out of here?
All right. Well, if you live in the local Nashville area or, within driving distance, my local comic book store is Comic City 2 in Madison, Tennessee. They also do shipped to home. But they have a very limited supply of backstock, but they have amazing game selection, and they're very big into Warhammer as well. So if you were looking for options for some ship-to-home comic book dealers, especially for new issues, they are ones that you can reach out to. They're both on Facebook and Twitter. And then, obviously, come listen to us over at the Superman and Lois tapes, where we every week we recap Superman and Lois episodes, and then when Superman and Lois are not on the air, we do crazy random things like watching all of Superman's Snyderverse stuff. And this long hiatus, I think we are going to be doing a bunch of Smallville stuff for the fall. So, there's all that. I will be starting a nude podcast, not a nude podcast, a new podcast.
I am leaving that in, folks.
Well, you won't know if I'm nude or not because it's just an audio show. But its tentative title is So You Want to Be a Hawkeye, where we're going to look back at Hawkeye's comic life and how it may tie into the Hawkeye Disney Plus series. And then doing episode recaps once the series starts to come out. And then after the series is out, we'll see what we may do then, depending on how much people like it. I may go back to the comic stuff. So there's that. And please read anything that Kelly Thompson and Matt Rosenberg put out in any comic form, because they are amazing and are very, not a lot of people, their names aren't up there with like the big names, but they just do amazing character work. And Kelly currently just won an Eisner Award for for the Black Widow series. Mm-hmm. And so yay, Kelly. And she's going to have a web comic that's going to be within one of the Marvel virtual comic places called It's Jeff, which is all about Jeff the Land Shark, which I am frothing at the bit for. And yeah, I mean, if you want to read either of my self-published books, they are before my MFA, so their grammar is horrible. But you can look me up on Amazon as Alison Sky Richards, and I have 2 books. One's called A Fine Line, Herrick's Tale, which if you have ever played D&D, you will love the story because it's written in the way of a D&D campaign. And then the other one is called The Lost Child of Hermes, which is a YA Greek mythology story that is a passion project from my long love of Hercules, the legendary hero series. And I also do write fan fiction on AO3. I'm as Alison Sky there. Yeah, I think that is about all I can do without saying, offering to sell my left kidney. So yeah.
I'm making up for some lost time.
You can also catch Allison over on Tooncast when we talk about the What If cartoon series as well. So there's that.
That plays too.
Yes. For half a second, I was like, is she really going to forget her own podcast, the Superman and Lois show? Like, really? Seriously? All right, folks.
No, I just forgot What If.
That's okay. Hey, look, we're in a different universe. Thank you for joining us here inside the Pull Bag. If you'd like to get in contact with us, leave feedback for the show, there are several ways to do so. Visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can listen to and comment on all of our content. Send us email to feedback@geekcastradio.com. Here are all the ways you can listen to us nowadays. Apple and Google Podcasts. Leave us reviews, please. Spotify and any other podcatching client you choose to use. Follow us on Twitter @GeekCastRadio is for the network. @ThePullBag is for the show. I am at TFU and Mike. What is your Twitter?
It is Ali Sky Richards, ALISKYRICHARDS.
Become a fan on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/GeekCastRadio Network. You can also check out The Pull Bag as well as the Superman and Lois tapes over there as well. Join us next time when we will be discussing Transformers Beast Wars numbers 7 and 8. This is Pod parts 1 and 2, I believe. For now, I am TFG and Mike with
Alison Richards.
Make your great escape into comics, and we will catch you next time here inside the Pull Bag.
Don't you ever get tired of listening to yourself?
Not when I'm talking about you, Cher.
Ow!
You've just heard the latest episode of The Pull Bag, the GCRN's first comic review and discussion podcast. There are several ways to get in touch with us and leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. You can rate and leave a review for the show on iTunes. Be sure to leave us feedback. Become a fan of us on Facebook, facebook.com/thepullbag. Send us an email, feedback@geekcastradio.com. Follow us on Twitter @thepullbag and @geekcastradio. So until next time, make your great escape into comics and unleash the geek in you.
I think maybe you miss me, eh?
I hate you.
I don't understand this woman.
Oh my gosh. Sorry, you're going to be editing out a lot of these. Why is Taylor Swift coming up in my Nightwing search?
There are arrows more dangerous than that one?
It'd be my genuine pleasure. Now, I love s'mores as much as the next guy, but I'm fresh out of marshmallows. What do you say we call it a night?